Hi, so today we're going to talk about parabolas. So, a parabola is a U shape. It's either right side up or upside down. Okay, my dad likes to call them parabolas, but they're parabolas. Okay, so there are two different possibilities for an equation of a parabola. The first one is standard form, which is how you usually see it. So, standard form looks like this. So this is a trinomial, something that you used to see in Algebra 2 all the time. So if it has an x squared, it's a quadratic equation, and this would create a parabola. Okay, now vertex form is what we're going to be talking about most today. Vertex form looks like this. Y equals a, and then in the parentheses we have x minus h squared plus k. So we're starting to see a pattern here. We had our circles and our ellipses that had h and k for the center. Well, now we're going to have h and k for our vertex. So our vertex is going to be hk. Okay, now with standard form, it's a little bit harder to find your vertex because we're going to be talking about something called the axis of symmetry. And then you would have to use that x value that you get from your axis of symmetry, plug it back into this equation, get the y value, and then your vertex would be x comma y. So I'll explain that more in a little bit. Okay, first we're going to talk about vertex form though. Okay, so example 1, parabola in vertex form. Okay, so we're going to identify the vertex of the parabola and the direction that it opens, meaning does it open up or does it open down? Okay, so here we go. Here's our equation of our first parabola. And I'm writing the formula up here so we can reference it. Okay, so this is the equation of our parabola. We have y equals 2, and in the parentheses x minus 1 squared plus 3. Okay, so we're going to look at h and k. So in our formula, or our equation here, we have h is 1 and k is 3. Now this is 1 and not negative 1 because the generic formula says x minus h squared and h is positive. So that follows the same idea, so our h value is 1. Okay, so our vertex is going to be 1, 3. Okay, now you might be asking, how do I know what direction it opens? Well, the value of a tells you what direction it opens. If a is positive, then your parabola is going to open up. And if a is negative, then your parabola is going to open down. Okay, so we're going to remember that. Okay, so our number in front of x minus 1 squared is 2, and 2 is a positive number. So since a equals 2, that means our parabola opens up. So it opens up. Okay, so you look in front of x minus h squared, and that is your a value. It will tell you if it opens up or down. Then h and k are the vertex. Alright, so we're going to try another one. Alright, part B says y equals negative 3 x plus 1 squared minus 2. Alright, so we're going to compare it to the generic formula again. Now remember that x minus h, that means h is positive, but here I have x plus 1 squared. So that's actually the same as if I was subtracting negative 1. So we're going to say that our h value is negative 1. Okay, now here, this part says plus k, but our k value is going to be negative 2, because that doesn't say plus 2, it says minus 2 at the end. So our k is going to be negative 2. Okay, so the vertex is negative 1, negative 2. And now we look in front of x plus 1 squared at negative 3. Since a is negative, our parabola is going to open down. Okay, so it would look like this. Alright, so that is vertex form of a parabola. Now we're going to talk about standard form, and it's going to require more math and more algebra. Okay, so now we're going to talk about parabolas in standard form. So again, this is a lot like what you used to see in Algebra 2 when you were dealing with quadratic equations. So this will be our standard form of a parabola, and the axis of symmetry is a vertical line that will pass through the vertex, and it will cut the parabola into two equal halves. And the axis of symmetry is x equals negative b divided by 2a. So we're going to have our a value here and our b value here, and we plug them into this formula. The axis of symmetry will give us the x value of our vertex, and then we will have to plug it back into the equation to figure out what y is. So I told you it's going to take a little bit of math. Okay, so here we go. This is still example 1. We're doing part C. So if you're following along with your notes from Google Classroom, this is example 1, part C. Okay, so we have y equals x squared plus 2x minus 1. Okay, so I always identify what's a, b, and c first. So if you don't see a number in front of x squared, you're supposed to believe it's a 1. So it's implied that the a value is 1. Okay, the b value is going to be 2, and c is going to be negative 1. Here, I'll make that look a little nicer. C is negative 1. Okay, so now we're going to take those values and plug them into the axis of symmetry formula. Okay, so we have the opposite of b. Notice that says minus b. So we're going to start with negative 2 divided by 2 times a. So 2 times 1 is 2. So we've actually got negative 2 divided by 2, which is negative 1. So x equals negative 1. Okay, so like I said, that's going to be the x value of our vertex. Now we're going to have to plug it in. So we're going to plug it into this equation, and we're going to find y. Okay, so y equals negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 1. Okay, so we're going to do that math. 1 minus 2 minus 1. So if you're thinking about that, 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 more is negative 2. So our y value is negative 2. So that means our vertex is negative 1, negative 2. So we've done it. We use the axis of symmetry formula to find the vertex based on the given equation. Okay, so we're going to do one more problem like that. Alright, so part D on your notes says y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 1. Okay, so here we have A equals 2, B equals -4, C equals 1. Okay, so if we think about our axis of symmetry equation, that was x equals -b divided by 2a. So we're going to have x equals the opposite of -4. So we want to pick 4 divided by 2 times 2 because the a value is 2. Okay, so 4 divided by 4 equals 1. So x equals 1. Okay, now we're going to take that and we're going to plug it into our original equation up here to find the y value. So y equals 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 1. Okay, so this is going to turn into 2. This is equal to -4 plus 1. So 2 minus 4 is -2. -2 plus 1 is -1. So y equals -1. So our vertex is 1, -1. Okay, so that is how you identify the vertex from using standard form. Now, if I were to ask you which direction does this parabola open, you would look at the a value still. So the a value here is 2. Since 2 is positive, your parabola would open up. Okay, so you always look at the number in front of x squared if it's in standard form, and that tells you if it opens up or down. Okay. Alright, so example 2 is about graphing a parabola. I'm going to make a separate video about that since this one's already 12 minutes long. But stay tuned, there'll be another video about graphing parabolas, making tables. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. I've posted these notes to Google Classroom, and you'll have an assignment on a Google form to fill out. Okay?